Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 4 of the Monday Q&A, so let's get it done. Jason, what is a stretch reflex and what does it do? You mentioned them a lot in the past, and I was hoping for a definition so I can better understand what you mean. Yeah, absolutely, and I'll make this simple because there's a lot of lifts you could do them on. Rather than really confuse you guys with the glutes and a squat, we'll do it very simple with one muscle. The myotatic reflex, or the stretch reflex, is when you put a muscle into a stretch position and with no pause, when it's fully expanded into the stretch position, you immediately bring it back up. So again, you saw me do it with the bicep. If you look at an incline curl, because your arm is behind you, and the way that works is that puts extra stretch on the bicep, because when you pull back, it actually stretches the bicep. So when you curl behind you with an incline curl, you are actually putting at the very bottom. You don't get this when you're doing a standing curl because the arm isn't far enough behind you. You actually stretch the muscle just like you would if you were to stretch it out. Because you guys, a lot of you know how to stretch your bicep. You stretch it on the wall or you stretch it on the counter behind you. It actually stretches the muscle. When you put it into a stretch position with a weight and you do not pause at all, and it's with a heavy enough load to really recruit those upper threshold muscle fibers, that stretch position with an immediate contraction causes your nervous system to respond because it wants to get out of that stretch position with that weight as fast as possible. It will engage more muscle fibers than that same amount of weight might do in a different position. And because it's already started the contraction, what we found is that when a myostatic reflex is initiated, it continues to do it all the way to the top. As long as the rep stays smooth and fast, it will continue to recruit the extra muscle fibers all the way to the top. So what you end up getting is a little more muscle fiber recruitment. It's not a lot. You're not doubling the amount, but you are getting enough that we can measure it. You're getting more muscle fiber recruitment with the same amount of weight through the entire range of motion, not just the bottom where it stretches. So for obvious reasons, more muscle fibers recruited with the same weight means more hypertrophy. It means more strength gains. And I'm not saying all of you are listening to do them, but they are a useful tool. Just one of many useful tools out there that can help you with your goals. And it is something to be aware of for those reasons. And so you can look in different movements and research this a little bit and look what lifts put a muscle into a stretch reflex and try to learn to activate it. Because it might help you get just a little more development, particularly in a lagging body part. It might be that tool that you need to bring it up. It's worth considering. All right, next question. On your older channel, you had an intermediate full body program. Where can I find it now? Oh my God. All right, I'm going to discuss this again because I haven't discussed this in a long time. Set this down. What a lot of people weren't aware of, that was a little template I made. That was not a program. A program is like my novice program is a full program. This was literally like a 10-minute video I did to where when I had 25 subscribers, I had no clue that my original channel was going to kick off. I'd only had it like a week. I had 25 subscribers. All 25 of my subscribers were people I knew on forums or from other places. These are people I knew. One of them was a friend of mine, and he asked me, hey, could you do a video and just come up with like an intermediate template for me? I want to do like a full body program because I know that's what you're big on, and can you just write me out a template? These are my weak points and I need to bring these weak points up, and I'm now an intermediate. What sort of program would you have me do? And I didn't write this out ahead of time. I looked at his question and just went over and just wrote out a program while the camera was rolling. I didn't put any pre-thought into it, and I just threw it out. And the problem is that because it wasn't a full program and it was written for one specific person with one set of weak points, it was never intended to be a cookie cutter program. But every time I pulled the program down, because like my subscribers kept going up, I had like 1,000 subscribers in no time. It kept going up, and I would pull the program down, and then I would get like 10 messages saying, hey, please put it back up. And so I would put the video back up. And actually, I didn't back the video up, so it's gone forever. And one trainer out there who's actually a coach has taken the program, and he's actually written a full undulating periodization version of it. And if he ever puts it up on a website for you guys, because I know he's got spreadsheets up, if he ever puts it up on a website, I will link it to you guys, but I don't actually have it out. And guys, it was not a special program. It was a very generic, basic template of lifts and reps and sets set over 3 different days per week. It was nothing special. It was just a basic undulating full body rep scheme for someone with specific weak points. So that's pretty much what it was. That's what happened to it. And it was never really a full program. But apparently like 50 or 100 people have claimed they ran it and just plugged in their own weights and numbers and resets and got really good results. All right, next question. You've mentioned how most lifters are placing too much emphasis on their protein intake. If someone is cutting and in a large calorie deficit, do you feel they could benefit from consuming more protein than usual? To answer that, yes, absolutely, if their protein intake was at the minimum for gaining muscle. But if a person's already consuming 250, 300 grams of protein, I'm going to say they're not going to get shit. They're not going to get any benefits from increasing it further. And the thing you've got to look at is, this is where I run into conflict. I don't even really run into conflict here. I don't disagree with Eric Helms on this stuff. People love to bring up Eric Helms' research, and you guys got to remember, the majority of people that research isn't applicable to them. That's research for very lean, drug-free bodybuilders who are cutting. 99% of you out there cutting are not lean enough to worry about this. And the thing that you have to remember is that what his research is showing is the same thing that we already know, that the less fat you have, the harder it is to spare muscle mass when you cut. And bumping protein intake seems to help with that. The faster you cut, the larger your caloric deficit, the harder it is to hold on to muscle mass when you cut. And protein can help offset that a little bit. So the amount of protein that you need on a cut isn't a set formula. It's a wide number of variables. But in general, yes, the amount of protein that people think they need to gain maximum muscle mass is sometimes 2 or 3 times higher than what the truth is from what most experts in the field agree on. There are some exceptions, but the overwhelming majority of sports nutritionists do say it's lower, but when we get into cutting, it's a different ball game. And when we get into contest prep for bodybuilders or physique competitors, it becomes a whole nother ball game. But that's to the point to where I tell people, if you're going to compete in something like that, you really have no business writing your own diet anyway, so you don't need to worry about my suggestions or someone else's suggestions, because you're going to probably go hire a coach. And if you don't hire a coach, your odds of being successful in some sort of physique prep is actually not very good. Very, very few people successfully coach themselves. And odds are you aren't going to be that special person who can. So that just is what it is. But yeah, in general, the faster you cut or the leaner you are, the more protein you will probably need to sufficiently maintain muscle mass. I don't recommend that people cut ultra lean. I don't recommend that people cut fast. So therefore, I don't recommend people consume very, very large amounts of protein, because the requirements for it are going against things that I recommend people not to do anyways. Alright guys, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.